Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Thursday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, let's see how to start off this video. Did you guys ever have like a day in your life where, just say in one day, where like a subject, just out of coincidence, it appears out of coincidence, a subject keeps coming up over and over. Let's say your grandfather, okay? Did you ever have a day where, like in the morning, something comes on TV, an article, a news story about a grandfather, and then you're in the car and a song about a grandfather or something, or the word grandfather comes on the radio, and then later there's an article in the newspaper or another article, or a TV show about a grandfather or something, just a reoccurring theme over and over and over throughout a day. And you start to wonder, or you hear a song in your head and it comes on, you have a word, a phrase in your head and it comes on the radio, and then you hear it like 3 times in one day when you haven't heard it in like 15 years. Did you ever have one of those days? I don't know. I have them fairly often, and I don't know if it's a subconscious thing where I just notice something more often, or if it's like the universe, telling me that there's something I need to pay attention to. But it happened yesterday, and it started out with I'm selling my car, and I'm buying a new car. And I started thinking about how the only 2 cars out of like 30 cars that I've owned, the only 2 cars out of 30 that I've actually had anything left to sell after the year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe 5 years that I've owned it, are the last 2 cars that I owned when I was clean and sober. All the other cars up until I was 40 either got impounded or totaled. I never sold a car up until I was 40 years old. There was nothing left to sell. It either got impounded, and they were nice cars. I lost 2 Firebirds, 2 beautiful Firebirds to sell. I'll use the picture of the Firebirds in the thumbnail. I had a beautiful, almost brand new Thunderbird. My mother sold me. I mean, I could just go through this whole list of cars. I had 3 Cadillacs, 3 Cadillacs that I totaled. And it occurred to, and when this was happening, I just thought it was other people, it was bad luck, and now I realize it was because of my drinking and drugs that I destroyed not only the cars and, all the danger that I posed on the highways. Okay, so there was that yesterday. Then I watched this movie. This was a fantastic, I'd never heard of this movie. Joaquin Phoenix. I know this is backwards, I apologize. Don't worry, he won't get too far on foot. Okay, and there's a reason it's called that. It's actually a true story about a cartoonist. I can't remember his name offhand, but Joaquin Phoenix plays him, and Jonah Hill, one of my favorite actors, is in this. And it's a fantastic movie. It's a true story. It's about AA. They don't say I noticed this. They don't say the word. They don't use the term AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. They don't use that at all in this movie. But it's a true story. This guy gets in an accident, a car accident in his early days. I don't want to spoil it for you, but he becomes a quadriplegic, and he's angry, and he finally finds redemption and happiness. So I watched this in the afternoon. Okay, so I'm thinking about my cars that I totaled yesterday morning. I watched this movie yesterday afternoon, and then this morning I come across an article on TMZ, and that'll be down below, about Zachery Ty Bryan. Okay, and he was just recently, he had an accident on February 17th where he was arrested for DWI. And then the TMZ article down below shows him in a bar, in a couple bars, 2 bars, drinking like a day or 2 after he was arrested. And the reason he's getting arrested, he just got arrested for a felony. He was arrested on February 17th, just a little over a month ago, for leaving the scene of an accident. And I believe he was arrested for DWI. It's called DWI in Connecticut. Anyway, but he caught a felony charge because he's got 3 DUIs in the last decade, and that's a felony charge. And he could be looking at jail. There's a good chance he's going to be looking at jail time for this. And I mean, obviously, from my point of view, or probably a lot of your point of view, he has a drinking problem. He's an alcoholic. He has a serious problem that's probably going to end up killing him. In yesterday's video, too, I forgot about this. This is the fourth thing. In yesterday's video, or the day before, I mentioned one of the girls I dated from high school passed away at 55, 56 years old just last year from alcoholism. It was a terrible way to go too. Her organs shut down. Her liver and her heart, and it was just a terrible way to go. She's my age, beautiful girl. I had a crush on her my whole life, and she's gone. She's gone now. So all these things, it's just weird. So I decided to talk about this in this video. All right, now here's the thing. When I got into recovery, I started to go, I had a hard time going, when you first go to an AA meeting, it's weird. It's weird. You don't feel like you fit in. You don't think, this isn't for me. This is weird. This is, I just want to get out of here. I'm not going to go through the whole way of how it works, but I haven't been to an AA or any meeting in a while, and I actually miss it. I started going regularly. It was one of the requirements when I got into methadone maintenance. I have another video all set to go where I talk about methadone maintenance and how it saved my life too. And I'm going to download that probably today. And so I started I tried NA meetings and AA meetings. And I found AA meetings were more accepting of me being on methadone, whereas any meetings, a lot of times I catch flack because to a lot of them, they didn't consider that being really, really clean, even though the change in my life was profound, and I was taking a prescribed medication, as prescribed. I considered it clean. Anyway, I look at this and all the car accidents I had and everything. I never got arrested for DWI. But just this morning, I was going over it before I made this video, and I did have one particularly horrific accident, and I'll use this car in the thumbnail. It's one of the Firebirds. I had just bought this car. I was in my late 20s, and I was drinking all the time and using drugs, and I had this car for 3 weeks. It was a 79 Formula Firebird, and me and my friend hopped in it. After I had let the insurance lapse after having it for 2 weeks. I look back at that. I was making good money at the time, and I was spending all my money on drugs. And I just used the money for my car insurance to buy drugs, to buy cocaine. And the insurance lapsed. So I had this car for 2 weeks, and me and my friend hopped in it. And we were drinking. It always started with drinking. That was always what I always did first. I knew that, it always went the same way. Go to the bar, or I'd have a drink at home, or whatever. I'd drink every day, and then once I had a few drinks in me, I'd want to go get cocaine. It was just a natural progression of things, because I'd start to get a buzz, and I need the cocaine to kind of level me out, to level the alcohol buzz out, as I called it. And we were on our way, went down, and we got a half ball of cocaine. And we were on our way back in the Firebird, and we were driving into the sun. The sun was setting. It was about 5, 6 in the afternoon. And the music's on. We're all excited because we're going to go home and use. Actually, we were going to go home and cook it up to smoke it. And my friend goes, "Hey, turn here." He says it really quick to go back to his house. So I just cut the wheel, and I cut right in front of a Harley Davidson. I mean, back then I used the excuse that the sun was in my eyes, but I just cut the wheel. And just as I was turning, I saw the bike coming up to the side of the car doing like 50 miles an hour. And he hit the back of my Firebird. And I only had this car for 2 weeks, and the Harley Davidson tore a hole. It literally tore it demolished the whole back quarter of the bike went into the trunk. Literally just ripped the sheet metal wide open and went into the trunk. And I actually saw the rider of the motorcycle fly. My car went up on 2 wheels from the impact, and I saw the motorcycle driver literally fly over my car, and then I saw him land about 50 feet down the road and just boom, 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 boom. My friend yelled, "Go, go, hit it," because the whole back seat is full of about two 30-packs of return of spent beer cans and fresh beer. And I got a half ball of cocaine in my hand. And my friend just goes, punch it, go, man, go. I couldn't do that. Even at this time in my life, I just wasn't in my nature. And I hit the brakes and stopped. And I ran over to the guy. And he was in pain. He was yelling. He needed help. He needed a doctor. He said he was mumbling something about he just had a kidney operation on his kidneys, and he was laying on the ground. And the police came, the firemen came, the ambulance came, and he went to the hospital. He ended up being okay. It turns out he was intoxicated too. He never hit his brakes. I mean, at the time, I blamed it on him. He didn't have a motorcycle license. He took the motorcycle without permission. He was drinking, so I blamed it all on him. And here's the thing, I got out of it. I didn't get charged. The police didn't look in the car. They didn't. I handed the half ball over to my friend, and we ended up driving away. We ended up driving back home. And I was so shooken up, I just ended up giving my friend drugs and say, if you want to do this, go do it. And I went home, and I was shaking all night, because, you see a guy fly over your car and you don't know if he's going to live. And he turned out he lived. I had to get a lawyer. And here's the thing, I got off scot-free. I didn't get caught for any of it, but looking back, I feel worse. This is one of the things that I've never made amends for, and it still bothers me to this day. I've never been able to apologize to this guy, because I looked at it like it was his fault. I blamed him for it, and now I realize, it was me. It was my fault, and the way I was living. Alcohol I thought it was going to be one of the hardest things to quit. I knew I had to quit it. I knew it was part of my problem. Even though I was a heroin and crack cocaine addict, I didn't really consider, in my heart, I didn't consider myself an alcoholic, even though I drank every single day. It was the prelude to my drugs every single day. And I knew if I was going to stay clean and sober, if I was going to stay clean from cocaine and heroin, I was going to have to quit alcohol. And I knew that. And I thought it was going to be one of the hardest things, because I was so, it was part of my day. It was, I was one of those guys that had all the Bud signs and the Bud shot glasses and all that stuff. And it turns out now, I don't miss it at all. I really do not miss it at all. When I think of drinking now, it scares me. It terrifies me. The thought of drinking and losing control, like getting a buzz, and feeling loose and carefree and forgetting my problems, it scares me. It feels like, to me now, it would feel like I'm losing control. I like the person I am right now. I want to be this person. I don't want to be, the thought of being intoxicated actually scares me. It's a fear, a true fear right now. I'd be terrified. If somebody asked me to take a drink, if somebody forced me to take a drink, it'd be one of my worst nightmares right now. And I never imagined, in my wildest dreams, when I first started getting clean and sober, that 17 years later I'd be like this, where I would turn down $1,000 right now. If somebody said, you want a drink? Yeah, I'll give you $1,000 if you have a drink. I would turn down the $1,000. Or even 10,000 or $1 million, because what good is $1 million? Because as soon as I start drinking, I'll start using, and once I start using, I lose everything. So what good is $1 million? Just some thoughts today. I see I'm running long. I could talk about this for a long time. Let me know if you guys have had days like this where something just keeps popping up. Maybe a song or a phrase or something, the same topic just pops up like 4 or 5 times in one day when you haven't heard it in years, and all of a sudden it's just like bam, 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 bam. Is it the universe? Is it just, or is it your subconscious? Are you just listening closer for that phrase or that word? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. I got a lot of videos. I got a video about Robert Downey Jr. and his son riding a bike. I got a bike video coming up, and why I put my seat up so high. I put my seat up about this high if I'm standing next to the bike. And I still have the video on Tiffany Haddish and methadone saving my life. I'm going to download that right after this video this morning. I usually don't like downloading 2 videos back to back because it seems like the views get split. instead of getting 100 or 200 views, I get half and half. And I hate doing that, but I'm going to do it today anyway, because I don't want to just sit on this video. I'll be back. You will see me later. Have a good Thursday. Recovery is possible.